Good afternoon, all you headless chumps and you masticated stumps. It's I, Jules, here on the gaming channel, here with one very sick and poorly Scott Telford. Bless him. Bless his little socks.
I'll get better eventually.
We're going to talk about something a bit fun today. Not news. It's going to be. What is it? It's the Evil Within 2.
Mate, do you know what it
you.
is? Do you know
Like a
what?
knife.
Do you know what it is? It's a truly innovative and worthwhile survival horror game post 2010.
What?
There you go. The point that I want to make, and we'll break this down, is that this is the most fun that I've had with a survival horror game in many, many years. I do think that the Evil Within franchise is on the back foot. The first one didn't sell very much.
No.
This one's selling even less.
Right.
Mostly because Bethesda's review policy is complete toss and we don't ever get access to the games when we're supposed to get them. But it doesn't matter because Evil Within 2 is awesome and goddammit, it's better than Resident Evil. Alright, I'm just saying it.
Let's just ground this for a second.
I was ill, I've got energy, I'm going.
This is our Evil Within 2 review,
That might
by
be
the
worth
way.
saying. Yeah.
Just in case you were wondering
Just
before
letting
it
you know.
goes off on one.
My-
So yeah, we've had the game now for how long?
I don't know, a weekish?
Yeah, a weekish.
Something
so
like that.
You've been hammering this game
Yes.
quite hard, haven't
Yes.
you? So what we're going to do is we're going to do our usual thing, break it down into our little sections of presentation, gameplay, and something else, because I've forgotten.
Well, it's alright.
It changes every single time.
The other one won't be multiplayer, but there's no multiplayer. So it's
Damn
alright.
right. No, we
It's
don't.
fine.
So let's talk about the narrative of the game. So what's going on?
Well, did you play the first one?
I did not.
Did you
All I
see
knew-
it?
I did. I saw that there was a man with a safe on his head and a very weird little spider woman. I really wanted to get to grips with the game, but I just never got around to playing it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll get into this in the gameplay, but this is very much a throwback to like 2004 to 2006-esque survival horror.
Okay.
And so the story is just you're a dude, Sebastian Castellanos, which is, yeah, he's
Top brand
he's cool.
on that name.
Basically, you want to completely embrace the camp, over-the-top, ridiculous B-movie style, attitude, aura that goes into all this stuff.
This is Shinji Mikami, isn't
Yes,
it, who made
yes.
this, and he is very well known for loving his B-movie
Yes,
horror
and
vibes.
so the reason that I love Evil Within so much is because this continues on from where Resident Evil 4 left off. Like whereas Capcom went in that direction of like weird, awkward, like kind of action, like set pieces,
Sheva!
and all that kind of
Yeah.
toss that was in Resident Evil 5 and 6. Evil Within is Shinji Mikami essentially continuing the franchise how he wanted to do, and he's come up with a really cool concept, which is in the first one. Basically, the big twist at the end of the first one was that it was all like a dream style thing. It was all a machine, and you were basically tracking down a serial killer that had made his own machine.
That's
Go with it. It's
not
cool.
good
It's good. It's fine.
storytelling.
It's good. The whole reason that all this stuff happened in the second one basically means that there gets to be this like corporation that's in charge of this machine. They're called Mobius, which is the same name as Sonic
Right.
the Hedgehog's home planet, but don't worry about it.
Fantastic.
And so basically they put you in a machine to hunt. It's a collective consciousness machine. Loads of different people are in. It's like the Matrix. It's like the Matrix meets Inception.
Wait, slow.
And they're all in a thing.
Slow the chuff down, mate. This sounds way complicated.
I might just-
like it was a survival horror thing a minute ago.
It
Now you're
is.
telling me that there's a conscious machine that you chuck
Okay.
your body in, and then you live. What are you on about?
It might
You've been
be-
smoking the crack.
No, it might be because I'm ill, but my thought processes aren't that solid. My point is, you play as Sebastian Castellanos. You're in real life, you're in a bathtub, but in the game, you're in the other world because you're beamed into this other world. Remember the Matrix? Remember that?
Yeah, okay.
So it's like the Matrix. It's also like Inception,
Yep.
because the world that you beam into is a collectively created consciousness made by a certain corporation called Mobius.
Yep.
And there are lots of other patients and people that are also beamed into this thing that want to live a harmonious life. But because a serial killer's got in there, his thoughts and his manifestations have changed everything. So now you need to go in there and you need to sort everything out.
That sounds rad.
It is rad, mate. It's brilliant.
I wasn't with you to begin with, but that actually sounds.
No, I know.
That sounds like you played Fallout New Vegas, didn't you?
A little bit. Not as much as 3 and 4.
The memory lane mission where you go into the collective
Yeah,
consciousness,
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like that, but now a massive survival.
I mean-
didn't you say it's open world? as
Yes,
well, this?
that's the thing. That's why it's so good. There's a lot to this, right? So on top of the whole shared collective consciousness thing, you have Sebastian Castellanos' daughter, who's also in the machine for nefarious reasons that are ridiculous. It is a spoiler, but it comes at the very beginning of the game. So you're also trying to hunt down your daughter,
Cool.
but you have all these conflicting mental memories that come in.
Cool.
Like anyone's sort of like fears are manifested. Like everyone's collective, everything is manifested. It's great.
That means
it's so good.
There's so much potential for shenanigans
Right.
with that.
So you take that template and then you have not the whole game isn't open world. Only certain chapters are. It has a really good balance. Overall, it's mostly linear. You only have certain chapters that are like
Right.
open. You do get to revisit like certain levels over and over again. You go into one of these big worlds and you just pull your like a radio out and it'll have like a little radio thing and it'll tell you like, oh, over there is a signal you should investigate. Over there is a body with some ammo on it. Over there is a thing.
cool.
You can also go inside various houses and different things. To which obviously because it's a horror, the door slams shut behind you, and all of a sudden you're in a more designed level or a vignette or a story thing or or a memory
That's
or whatever.
very clever. So it's almost
brilliant.
level based, but with an open world disguise.
Yeah, and so I would say in the larger world you've got like a whole.
I've not experienced that since Silent Hill.
Right, I know, right? And no one's done an open world horror before.
Well, you could
Or have they?
you could argue that Resident Evil 7 had not open world, but had expansive vibes.
Kinda, yeah,
But
kinda. You could argue
never
that, like-
leave, could you? So
No, yeah, and you could argue that like State of Decay is like a massive
Is
horror.
that horror?
Well, that's the thing. It's zombies. I mean, whatever. But
fun.
it's not the same way. Like, if
Yeah.
you imagine the way that like over-shoulder horror controls, like intricate, precise aiming, you take that gameplay model and you apply it to an open world.
Okay.
That's the meat of like Evil Within. Because I lost a good 6 hours just like ping-ponging between all these different houses and collectibles, and because every enemy that you kill, they're quite hard to kill. But every
Yeah.
enemy that you kill gets you green gel, which you then, because it's all in his mind.
Oh, right, yeah.
He revisits like
Obviously.
he gets to like think really hard and remember skills that he didn't have or he wants to have or whatever. You just have to go with it.
That sounds a lot like crack, mate.
It might be. I mean, it's called green gel.
Have a touch of crack, and then
It's,
you'll be like,
uh,
oh, I remember how to do this now.
Green gel and red gel.
So that's the story covered.
Yes.
You sound like you were touching on quite a bit of the gameplay thing with it being an open world. How does it actually play? Was it quite good fun to play?
Yeah, oh god, yeah. I mean, I always think that you can measure a good survival horror by the kick of its shotgun, and like the Evil Within shotgun is a beast. Like just
How do you mean? Like in terms of how he reacts or how much
just
damage it
everything,
does?
like the
Right,
screen shake, he flies back, everything kicks off, like
That's
just
cool.
it's great. I mean, remember the first time we shot a shotgun in Resident Evil 4? Boom! And it was just great, and I think like that like gave us the template of how those kind of weapons should handle and how a third-person shooting model in a survival horror context should feel. It should feel like you're making a last stand effort against some horde that's coming towards you, and you're down to your last bullet, but that headshot is so satisfying, or whatever. Evil Within nails that, and because you have this whole open world where like threats are around every corner, or like any door can burst open and someone can run out, like they play with that stuff really, really well.
So speaking of threats, then,
Yes.
what type of enemies do you encounter? And obviously, try not to do any spoilers for it. But is it quite varied in terms of how they're presented?
Yeah. So you have the whole like the Resident Evil body horror stuff, but it's not. For me, I don't think it's too over the top. Like the end of Resident Evil 7, the final boss in that thing was just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
got,
fun,
It got
but-
dumb when we first saw what Nemesis truly looked like in Resident Evil 3. That's when Resident Evil was just like, we've given up in terms of this is just
See,
a blob. It's just a blob with
It's
teeth.
just usually it becomes a blob with a giant eye or with
Yeah,
with a mouth
something
or
weird
whatever.
like
And
that, yeah.
the first Evil then certainly had that. There's a
Right.
thing that you fight in a car park in the first one that's just like this really over the top massive meat with
Right.
a face. There's always lots of masses of meat with faces. In the second one though, they've kind of reined that in. I mean, one of the first creatures that you fight is a weird concoction of like 7 heads all together with just a spine, some legs, and then like a chainsaw arm, and that thing comes after you, and it laughs as well.
Like a gumball machine with a chainsaw and human heads as the prizes.
Kinda, it looks kinda.
It doesn't sound scary.
It's like a Cuphead boss, but like if a Cuphead boss
Brilliant.
had like mated with the lass from The Ring, it's just sort of like or The Grudge
Ew.
or whatever. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff like that, and for the majority, most of the enemies that you're coming across are like standards, like zombie types, or like there's these really annoying, screeching, laughing like female enemies that just grab you and just stab you, and like they're really fast. They do a lot of damage.
Sounds like some Dark Souls style imagery in a way. The sort of like creepy, crawly women.
Yeah, well, not creepy crawly, more just that they're like, they'll be like slowly like walking
Right.
around, but once they find you, it's like, "Wah!" They come after
Okay.
you.
Like witches from Left 4 Dead.
Excuse me. Yeah, way more like the witches.
Okay.
But yeah, the place where it excels is in chasing down the serial killer, because he it's only the first half of the game where he's like more of a thing. It segues more into a personal tale of Castellanos hunting for his daughter in the second half. But the way that they do the stuff with the serial killer is brilliant, because he's got such an eye for like art, and he has his camera. So obviously in the mind world, that manifests as like all of his victims. Like he basically kills people and takes a photo as they're dying. So then
okay.
he creates all these weird little art exhibits that you walk through where like everyone's dying in slow motion or their heads blowing apart in slow motion, and it's like you're
cool.
inside his mind. So stuff like that. He summons some really messed up stuff, because he's like the dude. I'll stop ranting eventually. He's like the dude from the beginning of BioShock, who's like searching for the perfect specimen.
The medical pavilion guy.
The guy that's like the scientist, he's like, if I
yeah.
sew this onto this and
Aphrodite.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he's looking for the perfect form.
Yeah.
And there's a little touch of that in this guy, and it's great.
That sounds. I'm not going to think of his name in the thing. So that's That actually sounds really fun.
It's brilliant, mate. It's genuinely the best survival horror that I've played in years.
So how long have you completed the game
Yes.
yet? Okay, so how long did it take you from start to finish?
I think you could finish it shorter, but I did it in about 25 hours.
Wow, that's pretty good sustainability for a
True,
survival
but
horror.
that was me spending a lot of time in the open world. If you wanted to just mainline it and go like point to point, like main point to point, you could. You'll miss out on all the best stuff.
Okay.
There's a great callback to the first game.
Okay.
Where
Do you need to have played the first game?
Yes, to get this, you will.
Okay, right.
Because the first one was chastised a lot for having big black borders on the top and bottom because they wanted like a cinematic look. They're gone in this one. But there is a certain memory that you can trigger where the borders come back in again. And then
That's
Sebastian's
clever.
like, what the hell's happening again?
That's
And
clever.
that's great. It is worth pointing out that you need to embrace the tone, like the campness of it.
That can work. I think
Yeah.
that in certain sort of, especially in Resident Evil games of late, they've done that, gotten over
Yeah,
the
yeah.
top with that. So I think it's actually quite fair.
And I think the game knows that it's dumb. It knows that it's stupid. It's having fun with it. Somehow, it still manages to land like some emotional stuff with the daughter.
Okay.
Like you do fundamentally care about a man and his daughter, regardless of everything. Even though the setup for where Lily is and why she's it's just preposterous. But I mean, it works. It knows that it's camp and it's having a lot of fun with it.
It sounds thoroughly enjoyable. But,
do love it.
But the thing is, I want to just say, are there any negatives to it? Like, what would be the downfalls of this?
The only thing that stops me giving it 5 stars is some of the controls, like just general controls, not in terms of the shooting, but in terms of the traversal. Like you have an open world, and you have, like say you get spotted and you're on the run, and you want to clamber up a car and have like a last stand on this car.
Yeah.
I died a couple of times because Sebastian would just his coding didn't know whether he was on the edge of a thing or
so
about
he
to
would
fall
just sort
off.
of run straight
And he
into it almost.
Or like either running straight into it, or he's on the edge of a ledge and he just sort of like sticks and he can't do anything.
That's a shame.
And I'm like, you need to refine that. They might patch it out, but stuff like that. And I do think that just sort of like. Just general animation, like just things, just clipping, like things that where you get stuck
Yeah,
or
I mean,
like
yeah. Does it look good for the majority?
I think it looks gorgeous. I think the general presentation is just stunning. They've got a lot of screen effects and different things. There's even a bit where you go underground and it goes first person. It's almost like them going
that's
like,
good.
"Oh hey Resident Evil 7, I see the big thing that you did.
Yeah, just
we're
go-
going to do that as well."
Just chuck everything at the wall.
Yeah,
then.
and so that highlights one of the things that they do, which is nearly each enemy has its own sort of like different visual approach. Like you fight some enemies that are like these walking, like mushed up corpse piles that just emit gas everywhere.
Oh, yum.
And so when you get close to them, everything starts getting misty and green.
Oh, that's cool.
And but the whole world just looks really stunning.
So
like, I really like it.
So in summary, then,
Yes.
you've got a horror game.
Yes.
That's open world.
Yes.
That's a brain bender.
Well, it's only
because-
open world in 2 specific parts.
Let's just say that it's more open world than most.
Yes.
It's got a brain bending kind of sci-fi-ish plot with this
It's-
whole sort of like bathtubby dream
It's very Matrix. It's very Inception.
You've got gameplay that's reminiscent of Resident Evil 4.
And Dead Space and
And Dead-
anything that came out between about 2004 2006. It's that style of horror.
It's campy written, but can be fun and
great.
slightly emotional in places. Is it scary?
I mean, it's more body horror scary. Like
okay,
when
that's
something bursts out of a door and it's like, what the hell is that? Oh, its underbit is coming for me. Okay, I need to whatever.
So very
There's a lot of
Silent
that.
Hill and that sort of. respect
Yeah,
in
and
design.
but it does nail some really good jump scares, and just because of the way that everything's presented, it's because it's an open world thing. You just pick a house. I'll walk in here, and all the different sound effects and all like the TV crackling in the distance.
Right.
There's a weird sensation of just how much like horror can work when you know it's only you in that room and you could be anywhere in this place. It's
Yeah.
like how much of this is designed just for me, and how much am I stumbling upon?
Yeah.
Because it's open world in spots, that stuff really works. Like I came out of a room and I was walking down a corridor, and this other door just like slowly shut.
Yeah.
And I was like, it must know that I'm in here. It must be programmed to recognize that I'm in this corridor in this
Yeah.
house. Things like that really land because they feel so individual. So yeah, that stuff is really, really
See, that's
effective.
very good at building tension rather than just straight
Totally.
out scares and stuff.
The enemies
like
are very hard as well,
Good.
it retains the issue that the first game had in terms of hardly any ammo.
Yeah.
Like you're nearly always down to your last few bullets, which does make everything very intense.
that. And you say it's got a great presentation style.
Mm-hmm.
Sound is good as well.
Sounds cracking. I mean, you've got like all the different enemies have different sounds and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like very identifiable. The game actually tells you on the menus, on the loading screens, to like listen out and to be able to tell
That's
who everybody
cool.
is. Because on The Last of Us, obviously, you had the whole like
The
you could
clickers
just
and
listen
stuff,
for them.
yeah.
Oh, clickers as well, but like you could listen for where people were.
Yeah.
You need to like Hellblade style, put some headphones on and use
properly
like
use the
know where they are
surroundings,
because because the game will tell you if something's nearby, but not specifically.
That's
So
cool.
it could be like right behind you.
And you said it was fairly long if you look to get the most out of this sort of open worldy exploration.
Yeah,
bits.
yeah. I mean, you can lose hours and hours in the open world bits. I mean, it depends on what you like horror. If you
I
like,
love horror.
Yeah, if you like getting lost in like mist-caked like town villages and like just exploring everything, seeing what stories are inside each house, like even just it rolls together like every identifiable like horror trope. It's like, oh, there's a church there in a horror context. I bet if I go in the church, something messed up will happen.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. And it's like, oh, I'm in the car park or whatever. Oh, I bet there's something behind that dumpster or whatever.
There is.
It's just like lots of little things like that. That's sort of like, and like, oh, there's a school or a warehouse. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, we've seen these locations in X number of movies and games. I bet they've put something there that's a bit special, and they have.
I guess what makes it feel special is the fact that you, as a player, have agency over where you go and when
Yes.
in these certain bits. So that sounds very, very fun. And it's out now, isn't it? Already?
Excuse me.
It is out now.
It is out now. I did forget to talk about the crossbow, which is Sebastian Castellanos' signature crossbow. Is that in the first one?
Fantastic.
Yeah, there's a crossbow with a whole bunch of different ammo types, explosive rounds, harpoons, shock bolts. Say you're running around and you kick over like a red barrel and it spills petrol everywhere.
set fire to it,
Just set fire to it. Or just like, spill some water and shoot an electric bolt into it.
Nice.
Brilliant.
That's really cool.
Brilliant stuff.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic game. What are you going to give it out of 5 stars?
I would love to give it 5 if it was a little bit more polished. I'm going to have to give it 4.5 because I do think it is incredibly self-aware and it's very self-confident and knows exactly what it's doing. It plays like the sort of survival horror that I remember growing up with and I remember absolutely loving. And I miss this style of survival horror because even Resident Evil has gone full first person.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you ever had any sort of inclination towards like Dead Space or the old Resident Evils or anything like that, pick this.
Cool.
Because at the minute it's not selling very well, and if this doesn't do very well, then we're gonna get way more first-person horrors for the next few years.
Chuck it on the pile with the rest of the developers that are going out of business at the moment. Anyway, yeah. So that has been Scott's review of The Evil Within 2.
Yes.
Sounds like a very, very positive review. I might go and pick that up myself,
You
actually.
should, sir.
Let us know if you've picked up the game and what you think about it down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as per normal. And why not follow me, a Retro J with a 0, and Scott at
/LP89 if you want more bounce.
More bants, always good. As always, we've been the gaming team, you've been awesome, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.